G'day, Bomber fans. It is ANZAC Day. Massive game coming up. I was actually not gonna do a team selection video, because I realised people aren't going to be checking YouTube in the build-up to this game because, of the occasion and everything. But I feel like we got to talk about this one. It's a very interesting team selection that we've got. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, Collingwood's changes. Dan Houston returns from suspension. He is joined by Tim Membry and Lockie Sullivan. The Pies have still swung the axe after 5 in a row, though. Mason Cox and Ed Allen are dropped. And Darcy Moore, big news throughout the week. He is out with an ear injury. Not concussion, an ear injury. Anyway, as for the Dons, Sam Draper is obviously out of the team with his injury. We've replaced him with Todd Goldstein, old gold. He is back. I'm actually excited to see how he goes. But the big one, Kyle Langford's back in. There was some intrigue over him not participating in a captain's run, but I assume all is good to go. But the big one here is Sardell Hawley being dropped and Harry Jones keeping his spot in the team. I think that is what everybody is talking about at the moment, and I just know you guys are going mental down in the comments. And I think we need to remember, so far this year, Scott and his crew have made a few complaining fans look silly after the game. They've actually gotten it right more often than wrong. But yeah, this does feel a bit different. It feels like, maybe the mark is being missed a little bit. The rain is forecast tomorrow, if you didn't know. There is a 95% chance of rain at the time of recording. And Essendon have elected to bring in a key forward and not replace him with another outgoing key forward. So we've gotten a fair bit taller. Langford is taller than Sardell Hawley. And I think, before we get too mad, because I know you guys, you're hearing me get worked up a bit and it's, egging you on to comment even more. Melbourne weather is all over the place. Maybe Scott is planning for this. Maybe he's, channeling his inner Chris Scott, and maybe there could be a late change with Sardis coming in for Jones. We don't know what the weather's going to be like. We do, but we don't. Maybe there's something being planned late. So, before we get too mad, we got to remember that. But if this was the starting 23 tomorrow, I would be very confused. In the wet, sorry. If this was the starting 23 in the wet tomorrow, yeah, it would be odd. Jones, I don't think there's room for Jones and Langford in this team if it's raining. I just don't see how they both feature. And I don't even think it's a case of Jones or Sard. I think it makes sense for Sard to be dropped. I think he needs to be playing full minutes instead of being made the sub again. I think he should be dropped and be playing in the VFL. But I think Jones as well should probably come out of the team, if Langford's coming into it. And I think, although Elijah Sardis isn't a like-for-like with either of these players, I think he makes more sense than both of them in this team. I think it just feels weird, and I'm going to go through the lineup in its entirety and talk about it a bit more, but it does feel a bit like, if this is the team for the wet tomorrow, it has mistake written all over it. Now that I've said that, I'll probably get proven wrong and made to look silly a bit, but I think it'll be a big talk. If we lose this game, this could be a big talking point, I think. Very interesting team selection. Not right or wrong yet, we don't know, but yeah, you can see a world where this goes pretty wrong. So on screen is Collingwood's team. You can look at that first so we can compare ours to them. So down back without Moore. I mean, it's a big loss, but I feel like they're in decent enough shape anyway. If Scott does have a weather, genius at his handy, it would explain the tall forward line. If it is dry, then they're probably in a bit more trouble. But in the wet, Maynard, Houston, Quaynor, these guys can match it with Jones or even Langford if it's pouring. Just because marking contests are going to be near impossible to win cleanly, which again makes it weird that Jones and Langford are playing. But okay, Frampton and Howe, it's definitely vulnerable without Moore there. I hope there are dry patches because that could really, bring Peter Wright into the game. But yeah, you go through their midfield, it's fantastic. It's pretty scary. And then down up forward, they've got 3 key forwards, so it was important to keep Mackay, Reid and Ridley. I know some want Mackay dropped for Hayes, but nah, not going to happen here. This is a very good lineup. It's not often a team can lose their captain and not really go down in the odds or anything. They're still the firm favourites and definitely should win this game of footy with what they've got at their disposal, which it is a very good team. And Essendon, the back 6 is unchanged for the 5th time this year, actually. I think every game. I guess Ridley came out with concussion, but I don't think anything changed around him. So, and yeah, why would you change it? It's going strong. We've been keeping teams down. You move up the field and see Dersmer on the wing. He is playing in the game, thankfully, after that big knock from last week. Roberts on the other side. We've got Shield in the guts, Merritt and Durham under Todd Goldstein. That is going to be interesting, by the way, seeing Old Gold against Darcy Cameron. That's going to be a fascinating battle because we're going to be, not only watching to see how Goldie goes for this game, but this is a preview for his whole season. He is rocking out the season for this club, so yeah, all eyes are going to be on Goldie. We'll talk about that more in a bit, actually. And then the forward line, this is where it gets interesting, because I feel like you look at our lineup, it's not just tall heavy, but it feels forward heavy. You go through the tall forwards, you've got Peter Wright, Nate Caddy, Kyle Langford, Harrison Jones, if he's a forward, or he's on the wing, where, the reason why he's on the wing for his aerial game, and that's probably taken out in the rain. So I don't really know where he's best suited. You've also got Archie Perkins, who's played isolated out of the square at times. Then the smalls, you've got Gresham, Menzie, Kako, Hobbs is going to play small forward a bit, you'd think. It's interesting. There's a lot of forward power. There's a lot of tall forward power. And I think, if we're looking at a player to be made the sub, it has to be one of these small forwards. I think Gresham or Menzie, and I think people were calling for Gresham to be dropped after his recent performance. I think it was the right call keeping him in, and I actually wouldn't mind him as the sub. I think that could not only give him a reason to perform like in round one, but it's also a good player to have coming on late in the game, someone with a bit more experience. And we've seen what he can do in patches. He really can, own a game a bit at his very best. Maybe not own a game, but he can turn the tide of a game a bit at his very best. I'd hope Gresham is the sub, but yeah, I don't... Look, looking at the team as a whole, it looks like a team made for... It looks like a Marvel Stadium team. This does look like, an Essendon versus North Melbourne Marvel Stadium lineup. You just got to hope that the coaches have something up their sleeves, because it looks a lot worse than that Collingwood team. And, I mean, I don't want to go on and on about it, but if I was making the team, and I'm definitely not a coach, I'm probably going to be wrong in this conversation, and Brad Scott will make me look silly, but I think Sardis and Langford would have been the changes I would make, and Goldstein, obviously, coming in for Draper, Jones, and Sardell Hawley. But yeah, I'd love to be made to look silly by Brad Scott. That would make me very happy if I am in fact wrong, and the Bombers, have a good game against the Pies. Yay. Alrighty, and to end, before I go, it's a big game for... Obviously, Todd Goldstein. All eyes are going to be hit on him and how he goes in the ruck on his own. He obviously has the ability. He's one of the best rucks the game has ever seen, but he is 36 years old. He's quite old for a footballer, quite old for a ruck. So he's going to need to channel those peak Goldie days and wind back the clock for us. He seriously, by the way, has a chance to make himself a bit of a cult hero this year if all goes according to plan for him. Next up, Jade Gresham. So this might surprise you guys, but Jade Gresham's actually played the 4th most AFL games on our list. He is genuinely one of our most experienced players, and he's someone who can really turn a game at his best. This is where we need him stepping up, because he might not be a born leader, but given his time and exposure in the AFL system, he has to be doing more than he did against the Eagles. I've loved this season before that game, but that just wasn't good enough, and another one like it, and the VFL might genuinely be calling him. And finally, Zach Merritt. This is a guy who can win the game, and if we were to pick one game for Merritt to perform in and star in, it would have to be ANZAC Day. I mean, it wouldn't just help the team out, but I think we all want to see him improve his legacy even more and get closer to Hurd and Pendlebury if he was to take home another ANZAC medal. One can only hope, but yeah, it would be good to see another Merritt masterclass. I know we don't want him to carry all the time, but if he was to carry us for an ANZAC Day win, I wouldn't complain. But yeah, that is our team. Very interesting. Going to be a fascinating game. Obviously very dependent on the weather. That's what makes it even more interesting. But yeah, very excited, very nervous. Cannot wait. The game should be starting pretty soon, which is fun. Get keen, Bomber fans. Like, subscribe, and go Bombers.